Yury Kupriyanov is leading the track in WikiVote of knowledge management. And he's going to talk about case analysis, which is a particular kind of knowledge management for grasping the knowledge you gave in a project.
Okay, thanks. My talk would be about some maybe some abstract and strategy vision. I tell you about our approach in WikiVote that we use in project with knowledge management. What is knowledge management in 4 words? Is data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. And every time we need to think how we move from one to another level of this pyramid. And we're interested in some process that move us from data to information, and from information to knowledge, and so on. And on every steps of the project or process, we need to ask some questions. For data is what happens, and for information, what it does mean, because data it's only raw data. It's not means for okay. And next, we need to ask what we need to do and what the consequence maybe. And so we developed some general knowledge management process scheme that consists of 4 steps. There are collect, analyze, decide, and act. On the first step, we capture raw data, structuring it and refine it. On the next step, we link in data, putting data in context, adding metadata tags, some categories, make some formalization, and then we need to make assessment data and apply specific rules for make a decision, and then we act. We start a new project, or we make some improvements in our processes, and so on. And when we develop this scheme from our practice, we see that this scheme it's similar to another scheme named OODA loop, which was used to war strategy in United States Army. Do you know this scheme? Yeah, it's very similar to our scheme, and you can see the last 2 steps has the same names, and first 2 very similar. This OODA, that means observe, orient, decide, and act, was developed by Colonel John Boyd. Okay, you can reading about it later. And where is there place for collaboration? Because WikiVote makes a collaborative or crowdsourcing project with knowledge management. And we found that collaborative is maybe using in first two steps on the collect data and on the analyze. And for last two steps, we don't know how we use collaborative techniques, especially in Russia. we can't use collaborate decision or collaborate acting. So, and we have 4 steps for implementing this abstract process, which is survey, setting up system, pilot project, and commissioning. I don't know, need I tell completely? No, if you have some questions, you can ask it later. For example, we can see how this process implement in the case management. So we have organizations that run a lot of different projects, new products, improvements, and so on. And a problem is that experience of both successful and problem project is not fixed, and so it's difficult to generalize the results and identify best practice. And we suggest a solution: create a common knowledge base for projects, identify the best practice by crowdsourcing. And what we do on each steps: on the collect step, we collect any data from our project, from our case, such as project plan, project team, how project start and how it run, and who was involved in this project, what decisions was be made, and what consequence and then in analyze step, we put the documents in the context and find in our knowledge base a similar projects and linked our project with that. And we are fixing the lessons learned, all troubles, mistakes, and problems, and capturing a participant's reflection about how a project run. And then we identifying best practice, identify some successful patterns, packaging them, and on the last step, we spread best practice on whole company, whole organization, by making some project templates, project checklist or situational checklists, and running a pilot project using new best practices, and so on. So on how we implement our system, we make a domain modeling, identify objects and property. We choose the level of detailization of description of our case, and then setting up Semantic MediaWiki, page schemas, semantic forms, make some maybe custom user interface elements, we make a incentive scheme, and then we run a pilot project, and then we make some improvements, and then start the system at whole. So when system goes to operation, there are few steps when users adopting this system, then when in system when system have some content, our facilitators run initiatives on content improvements, and when base have some stabilization, we can make analyze it and capture best practices and then spreading them. So how it look on the Semantic MediaWiki? We use page schema extension. We use semantic form. We don't use standard MediaWiki editor. All data putting in our system through the semantic forms, and we use some extensions for voting, like auto edit, or our own extension for voting if it need. And then we have another question: how can we describe the practice? There were informal method for describing practice and formal method. Informal method is plain text, structured text that we use usually, narrative that we now only experimented with, and there are some formal practice, formal methods to describe practice, like spam, ISO 24744. Anybody listen something about these standards of these methods? No? No? And new initiative called SEMAT. So SEMAT suggests some ontology for the describing practices. If someone have interest, I can talk about it more. Okay. And what next? How can we develop our system? Or we can make more practice management, such as adaptive case management, or situational method engineering, or we may use that system for the talent management, for identification of our most valuable employees in our company where we use that system. Or we can make some project indicator system which capturing external data from other sources, and have some project dashboards and statistic and analysis. So now we research theoretical base for this process and how knowledge management process maybe align with OODA loop. And second, our research area is a new user interfaces, and third area is making tools for formal describing practice. So it's our area of our expertise, and so that's all.
Yeah.
Questions, please.
Yes, we are a bit out of time, and we need something to discuss in the community discussion. So let's just proceed without questions for this.
Questions.
Yes, at least okay. One question is possible during Cecil? Cindy. Cindy is preparing. Yeah. Anyone? Okay. Yeah, Benedict.
So, what were your lessons learned in using this?
This is our reference model for all our projects, and we have some general approach to every project with knowledge management. And what about lessons learned? So I have told about that. We found that collaborative method worked well on the first two steps of that process. Firstly and secondly, we found that users much better use the system when they put their knowledge, their information by semantic forms, not by text.
Yeah, thanks again.